Does anyone have any declarations of interest? No? Okay. Well, Steve, would you like to just give us a brief rundown on how the audit's going this year, please?
Yeah, of course. We're probably about 60% of the way through the work at the moment. I would say that it's harder remotely than it would be in the offices, and it's going to be quite a challenge, not just for us, but for your finance team as well, trying to communicate over Zoom and Teams and telephone lines. But we're working our way through it now. So at the moment, we're still on target for completion of the audit and for reporting on at the end of September. So we don't envisage that being an issue at the moment. Nothing significant is coming out currently. The big risks aren't signed off yet. So we've done our work around the coronavirus, COVID-19. The pension valuation, actuaries pension liability valuation, and the property valuations are the other two big risks. And we're still in the middle of those, but we've not identified any issues as yet.
Okay, good-o. Right, well, thank you very much. Okay, everyone. Hilary, is it over to you now?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, item 4, the draft statement of accounts 2019/20 and the draft annual governance statement of 2019/20. This report represents the draft statement of accounts, which are unaudited, and the annual governance statement for the year ended 31st of March 2020. These documents would normally be published at the end of May, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, this publication requirement has been extended to the 31st of August. Full details of the Council's accounts can be found in Appendix A, and the annual governance statement is shown in Appendix B, which sets out the requirements of delivering good governance in local government, including a self-assessment of the extent to which the Council complies with the 7 core principles of good governance. On page 149 of the agenda papers, it sets out the significant governance issues for the year in 2 sections. The first covering the 11 months of the year to the end of February 2020, and the second covering March 2020, which covers the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Members will have noted the underspend of £112,000 in 2019/20, thanks to members and officers' management of the budgets for 2019/20, and this is also very timely, as members may decide to use this underspend towards this year's budget shortfall, which is currently standing at 1.3 million, as per the budget monitoring report, which members considered at this morning's executive meeting. Section 4 of the report contains important narrative regarding the valuation of the Council's assets as a result of COVID-19, and confirms an amended budget for 2021, which will be presented to the committee cycle of meetings in September, with an amended medium-term financial strategy to follow in October. A member budget workshop has been set up for Thursday the 27th of August at 10 a.m. Grant Thornton will be auditing the accounts during June, July and August, and following the audit, the audited statement of accounts will be brought back to this committee for approval on the 1st of October. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Hilary. Okay, well, members, any questions, please, or observations? Let's have a look. Julian, you have a question. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. A number of questions, if I may. Sorry, it jumps around a bit. I do find it very hard following these things on the screen. My first one would be on page 15, about the shortfall. Are we doing this? I mean, I'm not getting ahead of myself, am I? Is this what we're doing on page?
No, as far as I know, it's now open, as it were. Somebody will tell me if I'm wrong, Julian.
Okay. All right, lovely. So page 15, the shortfall in housing benefit recovery. I just wonder if we could have a slightly more detailed explanation as to why that's so the variation is so huge. So that'd be my first one on page 15.
Shall we take them one at a time, Julian?
Okay, fine. That's fine. Yeah.
I'll let Lisa take that one then.
Thank you, Councillor Basston. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, thank you, Councillor Bizzle. So the housing benefit overpayments, this is where we recover those overpayments. So an overpayment arises when, for example, there's a change in circumstance for a claimant's benefit entitlement. So, for example, that could be because they've had a change in their circumstances. They may have worked more hours than we've been notified. They may have changed jobs. They may have changed their personal circumstances. And that is how an overpayment is generated in the first place. And then in terms of recovering that overpayment, we have different methods for which we can do that. So, for example, attachments of earnings. But what we're seeing is that those overpayments aren't being created in the first place for us to have an income stream from recovering those overpayments. And the main reason for that is because we've got real-time information now with the DWP. So we're not getting that time lag in which, for example, a claimant's circumstances changes and there's a delay in us being notified. That's almost real time now. So the overpayments aren't being created in the first place for us to then recover them. So it's better news, obviously, for the customer and for the claimants, because they're not getting into a position of having an overpayment in the first place. But things like the DWP real-time and universal credit have meant that those overpayments aren't now being created, and therefore we're not getting the income stream from those overpayment recoveries. And I think what we're suggesting in the medium-term financial strategy is to take that income stream out altogether. Does that help?
Well, glad to hear it's coming out. It seems slightly perverse that basically we pay people too much. And then you're saying that we then get that money back, claim it back, and that was an income stream, which seems odd.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, it sounds like it's disappearing, so we don't need to worry about that again. But it just was the variation on it. The variance was huge.
Yes,
so,
and we have been predicting that in our budget monitoring reports, because we could see that trend with the DWP real-time information referrals, that the trend was that those overpayments weren't being created in the first place.
Okay, Julian, do you have another question?
So I see that we've got an increase in borrowing throughout the year. That's basically gone up about 9 million. I probably should know what that's all about, but it said note 32, and note 32 seemed to be totally irrelevant, or maybe I got the wrong note 32. That's on page 18. So I just wondered if I could have some, just some explanation on that.
Yes, I can answer that question, Chairman. So 5 million of that was the investment property which the council purchased in Dartmouth. and 4 million of that is in looking forward in our capital programme for the next 2 years. We did identify a borrowing need, and therefore the 4 million is for borrowing on capital expenditure in the capital programme over the next 2 years. Happy to answer any other questions.
Yeah. So what I was really trying to do. So there's an extra 9 million borrowing. So what is that? Where is that 9 million? What's it for?
So 5 million is the Dartmouth investment property. And the other 4 million, it's not specifically tied to capital projects because we borrowed to finance our capital programme as a whole. But in looking forward, we've got various borrowing requirements in our capital programme, so things like community housing. We've got other projects that have been approved, such as the Dartmouth Health and Wellbeing Hub. And looking forward over the capital programme, borrowing was taken out when rates were very low. In advance of those PWLB rates increasing by 1% in October, to forward finance the capital programme as a whole.
Okay, obviously the PWB rates have come back down again. And you know, I appreciate you say, well, we did it while they were cheap and we knew it, but when they announced the increase, they just did it overnight, so we had no warning of that. But just I would be just, I think we should have a slightly more detailed report on that, rather than, you know, 5 million for the investment property in Dartmouth. I understand the other 4 million. I think we need to know specifically where that is. There probably is a report somewhere somewhere at some point, but I think that should be pulled together slightly better, because the narrative that runs with with that increase from 5 to 14 million includes a lot of capital expenditure, which actually is covered by grants or other, not from borrowings. So it just sort of seems to me that there's sort of, we're comparing apples and pears there. But anyway, that's. The other point I'd like to do, and that is, I'm a bit at a loss as to the movement in value of investment properties. I think that I can't see what page that was on actually, but I see that we're talking about a £10,000 movement in 1920, but a £1.5 million movement in 1819.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the right part with the investment property note. Sorry, do you have the page at all, Councillor Bizzell? Sorry, Tim, I'm just trying to find the note on investment properties.
Chairman, if I may come in, I think it's note 13 that Councillor Brazil is referring to on investment properties. The 1.55 million relates to 1819 and followed the valuation of our investment properties. This one being specific to a site at Lee Mill, and they're just in 1920. There hasn't been the equivalent changes in valuation. Don't know if that helps, Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, that's so the Lee Mill basically is that the site that we lease to Tesco's?
Yes, that's the supermarket. Absolutely.
Okay. Although obviously they built it themselves. Now, the other thing in that is because obviously we've invested this 5 million in this property in Dartmouth. My understanding is that we were going to get obviously that was relatively recently, but we were going to get property valuations. I know that was mentioned earlier on in this meeting. But again, I would like to see a very clear table saying these are our investments. This is what they look like in the balance sheet last year, and this is what they looked like in it this year. So we have an understanding about how the value is going up or down, rather than just headline figures. If you see what I mean.
We can certainly provide that, Chairman.
Yeah, I think that would be useful. Thank you.
Yeah. The final point I've got here at the moment, and that was about the community housing schemes. I mean, obviously we started with about 1.9 millions. By the end of this year, we're looking at it to be down to about 200,000. We've also invested out of reserves in the affordable housing from the affordable housing pot. I just wondered what we've got to show and what for it and what these monies have been spent on. I did see again in the narrative that they talked about affordable houses in Kingsbridge. I have to say that there seems to be a lot of local resistance to that. And we almost like we're counting our chickens before the hatch. So I just wondered where that money's been spent and what's it achieved.
Chairman, there is going to be a report coming to the executive on community housing around September time that will set out the detail of all of that and all of the schemes. I know that Rob Ellis, who deals with our community housing schemes, does put together a monthly bulletin on the community housing schemes for members. But my understanding is that money has been spent on bringing those schemes forward. So things like design, negotiation with particular landowners, legal fees. That's my understanding of where that money has been spent. But there will be a specific report on that to members in September detailing that.
That's
Okay.
good to hear.
Thanks,
Can I just?
Lisa.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Can I just make sure that it's not just for the 1920 that we start right from scratch when we had 1.9 million, so we can actually see what the cumulative effect of that has been and the spending of that monies?
Yes, certainly, Councillor Brazil. Yes.
Thank you. Right, that's me, Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Julian. Let's have
Can I come in?
Oh, yes. Okay, Trevor. Yeah.
I've just got two short questions. Really, with regards to page 34, there's a reference to COVID and some other things it's been responsible for, and there are some services, it states, that have had to stop. Now, I'm interested to know which. First of all, it doesn't say which services, and it doesn't give any money values. Please, have you got a clue on this?
Hang on, 30.
And I have a second question on something else. Shall I say that now?
Yes.
And
Please.
then with regards to page 72, the Heritable Bank, still frozen, 22,483. And have we any indication whatsoever of when that could be released so that we can get our money back?
Okay, thanks, Trevor. Lisa, can I throw those at you?
Yes, certainly, Chairman. We may be best to take the Heritable Bank one first. I think we did recently have some correspondence on that, Mrs. Henstock, didn't we, around the Heritable Bank?
Yes, I don't think they were able to give us a time scale, though, unfortunately, Mrs. Buckle, but it's definitely something that we're keeping our eye on and hopeful we might get something in the future.
But we've no idea when.
No, unfortunately not, Councillor Pennington. We don't at the moment.
Okay, but we are keeping our eye on it.
Of course.
Okay, great.
With regards to the services that stopped, which Councillor Pennington mentioned on page 34, that was where we had some of our staff sort of going out and about and doing front-facing work. So, for example, our localities team, but they were actually pulled back in to support the community response.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Bernard, you have a question?
Yes, please, Tom. It's really one for Lisa. Just following up on Julian's point about the 1.9 million. We know of some of these schemes that's come forward. Have we actually got any land under our belt to carry this forward any further? Have we actually spent any money on that? Because I see on the report there's like 200-ish thousand that's been spent on land. Is that for community housing? Thank you.
I'd probably be best to get a written response for that, Councillor Taylor, because I'm not absolutely sure. I think we have purchased some land on community housing, but I would need to check that position with Mr. Ellis.
I think the 200,000 might be talking about the land at Sherford, is it? Industrial bit?
It might be. I've seen mention of that.
We'll double check that during the meeting if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that would be good if you can. Otherwise, if we can have a note afterwards, then that would be fine.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Abbott. Yeah, that's right. And have I missed anyone? No, Councillor Abbott, please.
Thank you. I'm just looking at a table under the section 3 notes. The page might be 116 or 122, depending on which set of numbers we're looking at. And there's a small table on assets and their useful life. I'm just trying to tie up between the discussion at the last audit committee and this audit committee, that the buildings here have a useful life of 60 years. And yet your debate just a few days ago was saying that there was £4 million on a proposed site in Ivorybridge would have a supermarket building that was already 50 years old and would have 10 years left to run. I wonder if you can go through some of the thinking on that for me, please.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Abbott. So our accounting policies do set out our depreciation policy, and within that we do set out what are the expected useful lives of those assets. So the ones for which we are saying the useful life is 60 years are generally our more historic assets and buildings. Since that point, any sort of new buildings going forward, we are looking to have a useful life of those of 50 years. And that useful life has to be signed off generally by a qualified RICS valuer. So that if you use a useful life of 50 years or more, that has to be verified by somebody who's actually qualified with the Institute of Chartered Surveyors. So, for example, a council can't just decide that it's going to have that an asset's going to have a useful life of 60 years. There has to be formal backing of that from a qualified valuer that says, in their professional opinion, the life of that asset is 60 years. With regards to the Ivorybridge project, the professional view of the useful life is 50 years, and that's why 50 years is talked about in that report.
Thank you. It leaves an anomaly, an even worse anomaly then for the Ivorybridge proposal, in that the land will still be there and it'll still be ours, but the debate said that half of it could be paid off in the term of the lease, but there would still be something valuable on the site to pay off to be renting out to pay off the following £4 million. And now this seems to undermine that position.
I think what we were saying with the Ivy Bridge project is that at the end of that 50 years, the debt could be refinanced. I mean, useful lives are something which can be, updated by the valuers on an annual basis.
Lisa, this is not an argument with yourself. It was proposed by other people on the committee last time, and with them, I might have a pointed issue then, because that's not the impression I got from the debate at all, that it was going to be refinanced. There was something there that was of value.
There will be something there that's of value.
Yes, the building. Yeah,
it's the depreciation is very much a convention, and indeed the rules say that we do have to depreciate assets, even if we think the value may go up. That's just one of the things we're stuck with, really, and it is likely that the site value, even the bare site value, will be worth considerably more than half the present value.
It's an interesting proposal to think that a 50-year-old supermarket has a value. Tesco rebuilt theirs after 20 years.
Yeah, but the land will still have a considerable value.
Yes. Which was always ours and is ours now.
Yeah, well, that's right. It will have a value, and you might argue that we shouldn't be depreciating the land part of the price, but that's not the convention we have to work to.
Okay, I'll stop now.
All right, thanks. Where else have we got? Oh, sorry, we got another one.
Councillor Brazil, Chair.
Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, sorry, Chairman. Yeah, just say to Victor, obviously, don't worry, you've got another chance in September with that one. But yeah, like I said, I mean, well, I'm not going to go back over the arguments we had last time. Right, page 93. I'm just looking at, although funny, we might think it's the same thing. With the authority as a lessor, and we've got the operation of a supermarket, 99 years. I'm assuming that is Lee Mill. And then we've got operation of a supermarket and residential accommodation. And is that the Dartmouth Marks and Spencers that we're talking about there? And if so, that seems slightly. If it's 35 years and it's ending in 2031, that means that we got it in 20. Well, 20. Well, no. Yeah, well, so I've obviously got that wrong. So I just wondered what that is actually. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, so the first one, the operation of the supermarket, that's right, that is Tesco at Lee Mill. And the second one, yes, is the investment property in Dartmouth. The term is 35 years, and the expiry date is saying how much of that 35 years is left to run. So we would have taken that over at a point in time, which was at the end of 1920. But that lease has got until the expiry date of that lease is March 2031. So there's about 11 years.
Oh, I see. I have to say, the more that we go into this, I mean, whoever signed that deal in 1978 got the South Hams a fantastic deal, and ever since that, I'm just struggling to see, both with that one in Dartmouth and indeed the potential of the one in Ivy Bridge, how they can compare. I mean, it just seems very odd to me.
Does anyone want to comment on that? It's probably a lot easier to look at all of these leases after a few years when we see what happens. Certainly the Dartmouth one will be up for renegotiation and possibly even letting to someone else, but that'll remain to be seen. Right, members, do we have any more questions or comments, please? Okay. There's a lot of heavy breathing going on. We'll blame Hillary for that.
Councillor Pearce has put a wish to comment, Chair.
Oh, I've missed that. Why have I missed that then? I haven't got a
Because
little...
I've only just put it in, Tom, that's why.
Ah, okay. Yeah, please, Judy. Yeah, carry on.
No, I was just waiting to see what other people were saying. But, I mean, my comment would be to thank Pauline and her team very much for the immense amount of work that pulling together these accounts represents, and for doing such a good job on them. I mean, accounts from last year look like a different world, don't they? And it's, you know, nearly all absolutely excellent results all round. So thank you very much, Pauline. You're not going to have so much fun next year, I know, but good luck with that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pearce.
No, I'd like to echo that, obviously, to you and all of your team. I know how much effort you put into this, and it is very much appreciated, so thank you. Okay, so the recommendation then, members, is that the draft statement of accounts and the draft annual governance statement... Oh, have we done that bit?
Not yet, Chair.
We better get on to that then, haven't we?
Oh, it's part of the same
agenda. It's all in the same one.
Then part of the agenda
me.
item.
Sorry about that. Okay, well, remind me what page it's on.
It's printed page 1, Chair.
Yeah, I know. That's where I am with. That's where I am with the recommendation.
Yes.
Okay, members. Has anyone got any questions on the annual government statement as such? Are you happy with everything? Okay, well, in which case then, yes, the recommendation is that the draft statement of accounts and the draft annual government statement for the financial year ended 31st of March 2020 are noted. So is there anyone unhappy with that?
Nobody's typing in the box, Chair.
Okay, well, that's great. Thank you, members. So we can now move on to our annual report on page 159. No, that's with Judy, is it? I'm sorry, I'm trying to.
It is,
sorry
yeah.
about this. Over to you, Judy. Then. Thank you.
Well, members, the annual report, as you all realise, is much more of an outward-facing document. This is really for the public to read, to find out what we've been up to over the last year. And having said that, it goes up to March of this year. And so once again, we're really looking at a different world, and it's amazing how much the world has changed in 4 months. And, you know, you can hardly believe the difference. But there were significant things that happened last year because there was a new council. I certainly didn't expect to become leader. We sort of had a corporate strategy that I didn't really believe in, and I've been sort of trying to shoehorn my ideas into the corporate strategy that doesn't really fit ever since. And then we had a big change around in the senior leadership team, and then we had a change around in the extended leadership team. And then Sophie left and Andy joined us, which has been a very welcome addition. But then we had 3 or 4 months with Steve at the helm, and he did a brilliant job, but it was a really difficult 3 or 4 months. And so that sort of, the beginning of that took us up to the end of this last year. But in spite of all that, you can get some idea of, nevertheless, some of the achievements the council has made, and just the number of things we do every day just to keep the council running. I think that's the impressive thing in this, that just the everyday business involves this kind of repetitive thing of doing all these things and the number of them we have to do, as well as the significant achievements that are listed from, I don't know what page of the report it is, but it's page 172 of the agenda onwards. But I'm happy to take any questions, Chairman.
All right, thanks, Judy. Okay, members, over to you. I mean, I think it looks like a good report, but doesn't look as if anyone's disagreeing with me at all. Maybe, hang on. Oh, Neil, you'll probably agree with me.
Sorry, Chairman. It's just a very quick comment. Members may have spotted on page 165 of the agenda, we've included a figure of the average house price costing 10.25 times the average income in South Hams, which it hasn't actually been that since about 2004. So that should actually read 13 times. So we will update that before we publish the final version. It is currently a draft document, but we will update that before we publish.
Yes, apologies, Chairman. I was meant to say that, and Neil's reminded me that I forgot.
Oh, thank you for that. Okay. Well, I think it. Councillor Rowe.
Yes, Chairman, I think my question has been answered because I was going to ask if this report would be published, because I think it would make very good reading for the people of the South Hams. And I think that us as members should be mentioning this in our reports which we give to our parishes and indeed other meetings which we log into. Thank you.
Thank you. We got two more. Hang on. No, we haven't. No, that was the two. Okay, lovely. Well, in which case then, the recommendation here is that the progress and achievements made by the council be noted, and two, that the South Hams annual report as presented at Appendix A be considered for the financial year 2019 to 2020, with any amendments being suggested prior to publishing. So again, is there anyone who is unhappy with that recommendation?
Again, Chair, there's nobody typing in the chat box, and we'll obviously pick up Mr. Hawke's point under recommendation 2 as a minor amendment.
Yeah, very good. Well, that's it, members. Thank you very much. There isn't anything else that I know of for us this afternoon. No one's contradicting me, so please go and enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.
And once again, thank you, Lisa and Pauline and your team for all and Neil for the work you put into this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Tom.
Bye.
Yes, bye. Got off really lightly with your meeting.
Bye now.
Very good.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, everyone.